Join the movement. Go all electric with Pure Electric.
Welcome to our hemp home in the hills. We built our house on Wurundjeri country in the Dandenong Ranges in the outskirts of Melbourne, and I'd like to pay my respect to elders past and present, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and thank them for their care of the land and the waterways and the skies around where we are now very grateful to be able to call home. So this is a new home build on a suburban quarter-acre block in Belgrave. We were owner builders. We'd lived in the area for about 10 years before starting the project. We built to Bell 29, which was required because of the overlays on our block. It's 185 square metres, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, up on a slight slope, so up on stumps. And yes, it was a long project of self-education and learning before a 2-year design process and then a 20-month build time with a lot of help from family and friends. That photo there is from the day that we finished the hemp installation, which felt very momentous after 5 weeks and 4,000 buckets. So lots of solar passive design principles used in the house, all starting with the choice of block that allowed for a northern orientation for the back and to the backyard. Also around proximity to public transport, and just broadly drainage and light, which is a big consideration in the hills. So you can see the angle of the back wall of the main room there is not square, and that was around approaching true north, because the block is about 20 degrees northwest, and that's meant that the solar passive elements of bringing the sun in the winter works amazingly well. It's also nice from a design point of view. Lots of thought about window placement, so you can see the clerestory windows in both of those photos that work really well to ventilate the hot air at the end of a hot day. We've got a really good cross ventilation from the front to the back of the house as well, and because we're up on the top of a hill, the air comes up the valley and through, which works well, and just the majority of the windows to the north, none on the east and minimal on the west and south. You can see also in that drone shot on the left the narrow water tanks we've got down the side. There's 12,000 litres down the side, and then we've got another 10,000 for firefighting purposes in the front yard near the driveway. So the main material choice of note for us was obviously the hemp, which is a really amazing product. It looks beautiful, but it also performs really well in terms of insulation, air quality, and dealing with the moisture in the air and the humidity. It's great for sound, fireproofing, termite proof, lots of things. So we saved what we could from the original house that was on the block, from the hardwood structure of that house, and have reused it in that light fitting there in the kitchen, but also some bench tops, all the shelving, and we've saved a lot to build furniture as well. Most of the house, a lot of the materials we chose for longevity, so like the hardwood floors, the composite decking, which we went with because it faces to the north with no cover, so that'll last a long time without maintenance. And then the majority of the house is clad in ColourBond, and the roof is a light-coloured roof, light-coloured ColourBond. And where we could, we chose non-toxic surface finishes like the porcelain benchtop and the plywood joinery. That's a good shot there of the hemp in terms of seeing the frame built in. That frame is actually a second frame that's made for joinery to fix to on the inside. So lots of thinking has to go into where everything's going to be placed, because once the hemp is in, it's in, including, you can see a PowerPoint in the bottom left of that frame shot there. So all the electrical and plumbing has to go through the walls before it's set. And that's me there on the mixer, learning how to use the pan mixer. As I said before, 4,000 buckets of the wet hemp, lots of help from family and friends to pour that into the formwork and slowly build up the. That's a good shot there of one of the walls that we've left bare so that you can appreciate the lovely layers of the hemp. But that white wall on the right is also hemp. It's just been rendered with the render finish, which is done in most of the cases. We did as much as we could in the energy efficiency space. So the timber windows, which are double glazed, we chose timber for the aesthetic, but also the thermal performance, but it does mean we have to maintain them by resealing them every couple of years, especially the ones to the north. We spent a lot of time on air tightness. The hemp itself is amazing because it's a solid monolithic wall structure. But you can see in that photo down the bottom there, we used the ProClimber wrap and spent a lot of time including taping around all the joins and taped around all the windows. We hired a thermal imaging camera when we were installing the insulation in the ceiling so that we could make sure we didn't miss any gaps. That was really helpful. Our hot water is a sand and heat pump, and we actually installed the tank inside the house, just in a sort of cupboard in the bathroom. I had visions of making that into a drying cupboard. It backs onto a storage space, but it just doesn't lose anywhere near enough heat to do that. So that was a fail because it's so efficient. But I think having the tank in the house, obviously not then needing to keep warm in the cold outside, has made it even more efficient. We've had a 5-day power outage since we've lived in the house, and we were able to have hot showers 72 hours after the power had gone out. So it holds its heat amazingly well. It's very low power usage. The only active heating we've got in the house is 2 split systems in the 2 main living areas. And you can see just in the very top of that living room photo, the small duct. That's just a very low fire duct that pushes the hot air from those high ceilings in that room through to the bedroom. So we've got 2 of those to push through, one to the master and then to the other bedrooms. And that works even without using the split systems, because that back room, it gets all the heat in the winter sun, and that room is noticeably warmer than the rest of the house. And so it naturally gets warmer, and then we can just naturally push that warm air for the half an hour or so before bed into the bedroom. So that works really well. We've used the split systems only very occasionally in the absolute peak of extreme multiple hot days, and then in the depths of winter for little zaps sometimes in the evenings. It's all electric house, obviously, so adjusting to induction cooking, but that hasn't been too hard, even for someone who really loves cooking. And our average power usage for the family of 4 of us is around 7 kilowatt hours a day. These are some of our key takeaway lessons from the end of the project. Owner building was definitely a village project. We needed a huge amount of help from a lot of family and friends, and it definitely felt like another full-time job on top of our paid work. The time that we spent in the design up front definitely paid itself back in terms of making the build as smooth as possible and making sure we had no regrets in the process. And we're really happy with the design as we saw it come to life. We did feel like we had to advocate for some of our decisions and to keep sustainability on the radar through the build. And that just meant lots of communication with our tradespeople and needing to kind of not just assume that things would happen, but actively communicate about why we were doing certain things and making sure those things were followed through on. And there was definitely a reality of having to accept that there is no perfect sustainability. It actually means a lot of different things, and you can't always do everything. And so we had to make decisions as best we could and prioritize what was important to us. But ultimately, we're so happy with the outcome. It's amazing living in a house that performs so well, and it's something we'll always be really proud of that we did together.